In this video, we install the MaxxAir fan. Now, this is not your standard MaxxAir fan install video, because why would I do that? I'm not going to show cutting the actual hole in the roof or some of the other steps that you see in so many other videos that you have at your disposal. So let's call this one the MaxxAir fan installation supplemental, where I have 3 things that I think are value adds you may or may not have in other videos. Some of them have them, some don't. So one of the things that I found is quite literally one of the best tools I have at my disposal is this telescopic support pole. So it can, of course, telescope this way, and to get in there and give a little bit more adjustment, you can do incremental adjustments this way. This was purchased last year when we did the kitchen renovation at our Modern Moose at Buffalo Ridge condo, and that helped me install the upper cabinets. Actually, I have a set of 2 of these. I'm going to link them below. Again, we don't do affiliate links, so my link is just a link. I got 2 of these for 50 or 60 bucks, and I've used them so many different places, not just kitchen cabinets. Next on the list, we have Conformal coating. Again, listed in a link below, and you'll see this later in the video. I was not aware of this product before the installation. I find it helpful to look on YouTube for other install videos before I do my installation. I'm sure that might be why you're here. And one of the problems that I heard about was sometimes the MaxxAir fan will just turn on by itself. The higher humidity and moisture in the van, at some point enough moisture gathered to bridge the circuits on the board to literally turn the thing on. And if you get a lot of that, then obviously you could ruin the board altogether, and you'll have to get a new motherboard for the fan. The third item that I wanted to bring to the supplemental video is something called Dielectric grease. Now, this is something I've been working with for many years. In my early career, I used to travel the country installing large network equipment in POPs, or point of presences, so large data centers for internet data centers around the country. And I installed a lot of large DC powered equipment. I would have to run the wires from my equipment to the PDU, or power distribution unit. And the requirement was to use this product called Nalox. And Nalox was basically a dielectric grease. It's what we used in the telecom industry. And I had to put that all over every terminal and every exposed wire. As it turns out, as I started doing this build and I want to make these DC connections, I researched the Nalox and found it does still exist. I can get it. But I found this other product I liked better, and I went ahead and bought that. Now, the link is in the description below. A lot of people in the marine industry are using this. There's a lot of crossover between van building and boat building. This is something that is very commonly used, and why would we not use that? All right, the very last item, I mentioned a moment ago, when I do an install, I research issues with the install and things like that. One of the things that I came across was a number of people had issues with noise with the MaxxAir fan when it was not in use. Road noise, outside noise, just ambient noise, things like this. So the problem was that the rubber seal didn't go all the way around the top of the rim of the fan, so that the lid comes down on it and seals out additional noise. So I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to solve this? I should probably solve this before I do the install. As it turns out, it was a false alarm. If you are in Europe, then yes, you have this problem. And then there are plenty of videos and links for the kits to solve that. They're on the eBay UK site. But if you're in the rest of the world, MaxxAir already has put that rubber seal all the way around the top. And thank goodness I found a post from Hein at DIY Van. That was a lifesaver. I could put that to rest immediately. Luckily, I'd only spent 10 or 12 minutes on this frenzy of, oh my gosh, how am I going to solve this problem? He had a post that explained the entire thing. So rest of the world, don't worry about it. If you're in Europe, get the kit off at eBay, you're good. Let's talk about what we're not going to do. We're not going to cut a hole in the roof of the van, install the fan, do all the wiring, and then turn it on, hoping that it works. That's not how we do it. We're going to test the fan before we do anything else. That way, if it's defective, needs to be sent back, something wrong with it, we're going to deal with that now before we cut the hole in the roof. To test the MaxxAir fan, what we have is a 12-volt power supply, 12-volt regulator. I have a 10-amp fuse in here, and this is a 5-amp rated device. So we're going to go ahead and power this up. Okay. Why did I use the voltage regulator? To ensure that we only get 12 volts. Even though this is a 12-volt rated device, we're going to test and see exactly how much voltage is coming out of it. It's probably not 12. 13.6. Now let's see what we have on the other side of the regulator. 12.2. The motherboard received more than 12 volts, or in that range, pretty close to 12. It would actually fry the motherboard. So this is a pretty inexpensive safeguard. Well, step one, put on your work clothes. Then you're going to want to get your conformal spray. You know, your conformal spray that you have out in the garage. You're going to want to coat the motherboard multiple times on both sides. You'll see that I have some blue tape on the connectors that you don't want to spray. So those connectors have to make the electrical connections. You don't want to actually coat those because then no more electrical connection. Next, you're going to take your dielectric grease. Yes, you heard that right. And you're going to coat all of the electrical connections. I've pulled off the blue tape after the conforming spray has dried. And we're going to use Q-tips and make sure that we coat all of the different connections that we want to make. What this does is prevent corrosion, and it prolongs the life of the electronics. Make sure you're thorough and put the grease on every single electrical connection there is. After spraying the motherboard with the conformal coating, we're going to do one more check to make sure we didn't mess anything up. So I've made all the connections again. Get that plugged into power. And make sure I don't have any wires that are going to hit the fan blade as it starts up. Power. Okay. Good. As you can see here, it can be at the very rear, or it could be one bay in. There is that structural bar across that. That's exactly where I'd prefer to put it. Can't put it there, so I'm going to have to select one of those two bays. Contain the mess by using the box that the fan came in. Hey, and you can support that box with your telescopic support pole. And now it's time to get to work. You can see that I've put the blue masking tape all over the area, and I prefer to draw my lines on the masking tape rather than on the van itself. In the event that you mess up, you don't want to have a bunch of stray marks all over the van. This is the best method I found. And fast forward, didn't have the camera on, my apologies for that. As you can see, it's cut out and fell right in the box. Perfect catch. The next step is going to be to go ahead and file down all the sides to make sure we don't have any burrs or anything that's going to catch me or the fan. Next, we're going to put a couple of coats of primer on here, letting it dry in between coats. Speaking of painting, I went ahead and painted the wood for the frame that will frame in the inside of the fan. And that's been drying now for the last few hours. It's ready to install. All right, we got those installed and clamped, and after it dries, we'll go ahead and finish the installation. Some butyl tape, more Sikaflex, and the install you've seen 1,000 times. No need to rehash that here. I do it like the other YouTubers. So now that it's all set up there, I'm cleaning off the roof of all the metal shavings, and it's done. Okay, now that the MaxxAir fan is installed, and it's been a few days, we're going to do our leak test. To help with that, I've went ahead and put this box under the fan, so if any water does come in, we should be able to tell. So far, no leaks. We're going to check it back here in another 15-20 minutes just to make sure nothing works its way down here. But so far, I think we're good to go. 15 minutes has elapsed. We're going to check the box once again. I'm looking for any spots of moisture whatsoever. So far, I see no evidence any drips came down. So I'm going to call that one done. Well, this is never a good sign. 3 cats together. What are you guys up to? What do you got, Lola? What do you got, good girl?